Video 14, the dative case with prepositions. The dative case has many functions in German. It gives you important information, so you need to use it accurately. To begin with, we will focus on using it after prepositions, which tell you about where things are located. We will be using following prepositions, which always have the dative after them.
In,
inside,
auf,
on top of,
neben,
next to,
unter,
under,
zwischen,
between,
vor,
in front of. Read them out loud with us again to practice your pronunciation.
in,
Auf,
neben,
unter,
zwischen,
vor.
and that zwischen is really difficult, so let's have another go at that one. Zwischen.
Zwischen.
So the words for the and a vary in the dative case. You will have learnt the nominative or the basic words for masculine, feminine and neuter for the word the, which is der, die, das, and the plural for all genders, which is die, and that's the top or the second line on the table here. And in the dative case, these words change, so they become dem for masculine, der for feminine, dem for neuter, and den for plural. And you can see here there's one thing that actually makes this slightly easier, that masculine and neuter both become dem. So there's, if you like, one fewer thing to worry about there. The words for a or an also change. You will have learnt the nominative for masculine, feminine, neuter and plural as ein, eine, ein and perhaps meine. And in the dative case, they change in much the same way. If you look at the endings on these words, they're identical to the words for the. So we have einem, einer, einem for neuter, and meinen for plural. Read them out again with us to practice your pronunciation.
Dem, der, dem, den.
And
Einem, einer, einem und meinen.
here are some examples.
Die Katze ist in dem Keller.
So we've seen here the preposition in, so we know that the cat is in or inside something. And we see the word dem, which we know is the dative case for starters. And it's going to be either masculine or neuter, because that's where that falls on the table we've just looked at. And indeed it's a masculine word here, der Keller. So in the cellar is in dem Keller. In a cellar would be
In einem Keller.
And here's one tip that you need to take on board, is that pretty much always that you see this written in German or spoken, it gets shortened from in dem to im. So that sentence would be
Die Katze ist im Keller. Monika ist in der Schule.
So here we see that this is again using the preposition in, so we know Monica is in or inside something, and in der Schule we can work out as the dative feminine, because that's where der falls on the dative line on our table. And so in the school is,
In der Schule.
and in a school.
In einer Schule.
And here's one final example of a neuter.
Das Buch ist auf dem Bett.
So not in this time, but auf. And if you remember back to the definitions of the prepositions, auf is on top of. And so we know that the book is on top of something, and that thing is auf dem Bett. And dem we know is either masculine or neuter. Well, in this case it's a neuter word, das Bett. So on the bed is,
Auf dem Bett.
and on a bed is.
Auf einem Bett.
We have a quiz for you now, so you need to put your thinking caps on. Read these phrases with us and see if you can work out what they mean and the gender of the noun. We'll tell you if you're right at the end. So get ready to read. Here we go.
Die Katze ist unter dem Tisch. Die Maus ist in der Küche. Das Buch ist auf dem Bücherregal. Die Schule ist neben dem Park. Das Telefon ist zwischen dem Computer und der Lampe. Ich wohne in einem Dorf.
So we can see each of them has a preposition, unter, in, auf, neben, zwischen, and in. So hopefully you can remember what they meant. And here are the solutions. Die Katze ist unter dem Tisch is the cat is under the table. And Tisch, I would forgive you for thinking it could be der or das, because that's both of those convert to dem in the dative. In this case it's der Tisch, masculine. Die Maus ist in der Küche. The mouse is in the kitchen. And in this case we know for sure that Küche is feminine because in der is the dative and der is the dative word for feminine die. Das Buch ist auf dem Bücherregal. The book is on the bookshelf. Again, this is either a der word or a das word. In this case it's das Bücherregal, so it's neuter. Die Schule ist neben dem Park. The school is next to the park. And again, could be masculine or neuter, but in this case it's der Park, masculine. Das Telefon ist zwischen dem Computer und der Lampe. The telephone is between the computer and the lamp. And please note that both of these go into the dative case. So we have zwischen dem Computer, that's one dative, and zwischen der Lampe is the other one. So dem Computer, it's actually a masculine word, der Computer, and der Lampe is the dative for die Lampe, which is feminine. And finally, ich wohne in einem Dorf. I live in a village. And Dorf, you can see, could be either masculine or neuter if you're just working it back from this sentence, and it's actually neuter, das Dorf.
Übung 1. Write the correct dative form.
So copy out each of these 10 sentences, please, and convert the word for the or a, which we put in brackets, into the dative case because each of them has a preposition before the blank space, and you need to put each of them into the dative case. And write your sentences out in full.
Und Übung 2. Copy out the text and fill in the gaps with the missing article in dative. You will need to look up the gender of the nouns to get this right. No guessing.
So you have to write out the whole text here, and there's 2 bits of new vocabulary which you should pay attention to. They're in the box on the right. We have 2 slightly new verbs. Steht comes from the verb stehen, which means to stand, so steht means stands. And liegt comes from the verb liegen, which means to lie.